All right. So this should go open, 3-bet, fold, potentially 4-bet shove, potentially call, potentially fold, because you never know what Garen's going to do.
He's got the chips. He can put the pressure on him.
I like the sizing from the kick there.
He got bored of 69. Back to the round numbers. It's a cool blanket you got. Where'd you pick that up?
I think on Electro Threads. It's like my favorite clothes website at the moment. Yeah, they're super sick. Getting loads of new stuff out every week.
Really comfortable too?
Super comfortable. Yeah, I'm wearing like Electro Thread joggers as well. They're not even trippy, but they're just really.
Hey guys, so you got to listen to. What was the name of that music you used to listen to while you grind?
Mogwai. MOGWAI.
You got to listen to Mogwai, wear Electro Threads, and pee sitting down, and you can win this championship.
Did you? I got the read in the chat. I said, "Oh, I shoved the deuces to Garen." I couldn't think of anything else that he would tank that long for and then fold.
Yeah.
I think I'm like 1 for 2 where Connor was 0 for 3, so I'm feeling right. It's a really fun leveling spot talking about your hands when there's going to be a replay coming back as well.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't bet this ace deuce. I imagine that I probably thought that Gibler was going to be folding too many turns. This is actually a really bad turn to keep barreling on, so I'm happy we didn't. The kick says, "You guys are so funny. I hope we play for hours." I don't even know what that means. Is that like
he's enjoying your company very much, and he doesn't think there will ever be another time that he's with you. So
he says, "Let's make some more of these funny poker jokes." It sounds super sarcastic, right?
I think he's being real.
Huh. He's a very nice person in real life, so I wouldn't be surprised. But he was the one person that said that he wanted to carry on whilst I was disconnected. I see. Maybe this is a really bad read for me. I thought he was tilting at the time.
No, you definitely save your reads for the live arena, man. They clearly are not happening on it. If only artificial intelligence could know the mood that we have behind our message and change the color of the text to match it.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
You could automatically understand, like, if someone's being sarcastic. Yeah. One day they'll be smart enough, those machines.
At that point, we're basically irrelevant species by then, so they might not keep us around to see it.
They might keep us around for entertainment.
Yeah.
We'll be good for that.
Yeah. See if we can keep around the good poker players. Give them a show. I like Garen's decision here to just call when it's big stack versus big stack. You want to decrease variance. He's going to be dominating lows of my opening range. I wouldn't be opening too wide just because everyone's kind of deep stack now. So you can't open like ace two suited or anything like ace two soft. Sorry, you can definitely open ace two suited. On this boards, this really nails my range a lot harder than his. Like, even though he has a lot of hands that connect, he doesn't have many hands that connect really well. The jack's a really nice card because it means there's one fewer combo of jack 10 suited that he can have. So it goes from 4 combos to 3 combos. And then I can have aces, kings, queens, jack 10 off, which is like a really big one to have there because there's 16 of those. Where there's only 3 aces, 3 queens, 3 kings. Then you have ace king, which there's 9 combos. Ace queen, there's 9 combos. King queen, there's 9 combos. And for him, he's very limited because he probably doesn't have ace queen and ace king. He has jack 10 suited. He doesn't have jack 10 off. So this is a situation where if I had something like 6-7 of diamonds, I'd probably just triple barrel a lot And I think it's something that people really miss out on, is finding enough bluffs for a board that really, really favors you. So you got to just choose some of the trash hands to go for it with. So yeah, my plan here was to pretty much triple barrel everything. Get him to fold most of his range by the river, because like if he calls the flop, he can still have like queen jack, king 10, queen 10, ace jack, ace 10, ace 5 suited, and we might be able to get all of it to fold by the river.
Yeah, so if we just do like a simple maths, like just as a guess, what do you think he's flatting? About 20% of hands on the button there? 15?
Yeah, maybe near 15.
Okay, so we'll go 15. And your thought with this triple barrel is that you can get something like 12 to 14.5% of that 15 to fold by the river if you break it down by the combos and you triple barrel.
Sometimes, yeah. It depends how often he thinks I'm bluffing. Like he might be able to make some pretty sick cooldowns. But I think against a good proportion of people, you can get him to fold like 90% of the range. Yeah.
That makes sense. So it really shows the importance of being able to peg your opponent's range pre-flop when kind of designing your plan for post-flop. Because if you know what they have and you know what they'll finish with facing 3 barrels, 2 barrels, 1 barrels, you can bet very effectively.
Yeah.
And I guess GTO is just about finding the best hands of that you're going to bet with if you can't bet with all of them.
Yeah. So here I chose a sizing. My original thought was to go bigger, but I like the size I chose because it really keeps in hands. Like I can still have like king queen. So like I still have a lot of value hands, whereas if I go like 3 million here, I'm pretty much only repping like jack 10 and a flush, maybe just a flush. And you can see here he has probably the best hand he can possibly call with, that isn't a flush or jack 10 obviously. So like his best bluff catcher. And he still put, because the 10 of diamonds blocks so many of my flushes that barrel the flop and turn. And the ace blocks ace king and ace queen as well. So it's just like a really, really good blocker hand to call with. But it's just, he's not a blocker kind of player. He's more of a field player. So I don't think that's as relevant to him. And we get it through. Nice. Got him.
3 emoji.
That was definitely a 3 smile situation.
I like it. You remind me how fun poker is. Remind me of my favorite parts about the game.
It's pretty funny. He says ace queen fold. Just getting the old like not complete troll but like a merged troll. I trolled back with I was targeting those. I was not targeting ace queen.
You felt the ace queen didn't exist.
Didn't think the ace. I thought it might exist like 25% of the time. But generally he's going to be 3-betting that, I think.
Yeah, maybe if he like flats his suited and 3-bets his offsuits, then it would be what, exactly 25% of the time.
Would be around 25, yeah. I'd probably be more tempted to 3-bet the suited though, when we're deep. You want to play bigger hands with better hands, bigger pots with better hands, and you can still do stuff against a 4-bet.
That was the old Sklansky teaching, right? Big pots are for big hands.
I don't know. Sounds like
you've never read a poker book. You wouldn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. The only poker book I ever read, like I read a bit of Mormon's book, which was pretty good, but other than that, it was just Dora Brunson's Super System. Hilarious. I'm sure he's great for his time, but it was just such a funny one. He was just like, yeah, so the strategy I like to use is I like to try and win all the pots. That was not a very good Texas accent.
I like to put pressure on my opponents.
Yeah,
my
nice.
Opponents try to raise me on the flop. I say, no way, man. I got that draw. I'm all in.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Sometimes when I'm semi-bluffing with my flush draw, I get there, and then they go fucking spinning and just dump to me for the rest of the night. That's why.
I love the Texan accent. I think it's really fun.
If you want a hilarious Texan accent that also fills you up with really good feelings, listen to Zig Ziglar. He is the most hilarious motivational speaker I've ever heard, mainly because of the accent. I had a dream where I saw him and he's like, "Hey kid, you want to take your life to another level?" I'm like, "How do I do that?" And he's like, "Watch this." And he's on all fours and then he takes a breath and the next thing I know he's floating on the ceiling. And he's like, "If you listen to my audio program, you can do this too."
He's got the subliminal messages into your subconscious.
My dreams. And so when I woke up, I got the program, listened to it over the next week. I can't quite fly on the ceiling yet, but I'm getting close.
That's pretty fun.
I also had a dream that I need to read Mike Sexton's book to get me remotivated about poker again.
I did not know Mike Sexton had a book. Actually, I'm not sure who Mike Sexton is. I thought I did, but
Mike Sexton was the announcer from the World Poker Tour. And I think it's more about a story about the industry and about his journey in the business of poker as opposed to pure strategy.
I like it.
Because in the dream, he's like, "You need this book." I'm like, "Dude, the last thing I need is another poker book."
Yeah.
Or another book in general. He's like, "No, it's different. Trust me." So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what you do with this king queen against these duckies too.
It's kind of it kind of lulls you into a false sense of security when you're playing deep four-handed. Because it just feels like because you're playing so many hands, you get kind of desensitized to playing big equity and big money pots, where every single hand is actually worth like probably like half of some of these players' bankrolls. Actually, I have no idea how much money those guys have, but like it's worth so much money, and people really like underestimate it. Whereas if they like actually transferred it to real cash value, and then they found out they were playing like 1K, 2K or something ridiculous, and then they'd probably start panicking a bit more. But because it's tournament chips and they're just playing so many hands when it's four-handed deep stacked, you don't really notice the swings. Everyone's kind of relaxed at this point. If you want to be that guy, you can just every now and again when you're deep in a tournament remind people how much the chips they're playing for is worth. If you want to be that guy, I wouldn't recommend being that guy, but some people like being that guy, and that's a nice trick to have.
I think you've just created a lot of that guys right now.
Yeah. And that was the moment that guy was born. Gibbler should be peeling here. Give it the old call Rooney.
Why should he be peeling here?
It's just too good a price, too good a hands, plays really well, and no bueno. If he's folding that, he's going to be folding way too many hands to 3-bets in that position. You will get some stern looks if you told some of the high rollers that you're folding that hand. Or some non-reactions and just like mental notes about how to play against him for the next year.
Yeah, and note to not buy any of your action again.
This is a really nice hand to choose to triple barrel, I think, a lot of the time. You can either check back the flop, which is like fine, but I prefer protecting your equity, plus you pick up a lot of draws. The backdoor flusher was really, really nice. And when you hit the backdoor flusher, obviously you got to keep betting. Fold him off a jack. Fold him off a hand that might bluff on the river and win. This would be a pretty nice hand to bluff as well.
What sizing do you like if you're in Garen's shoes here?
That's a good question. I think it's kind of sucky. I think you just got to go like 2.5 million or something. Yeah, I don't mind that either. I think I'll probably go a bit bigger. Like, because you're repping quite a strong hand, like you're repping a deuce, 6-7, or ace 4 and above, maybe ace 3, maybe ace 4, I'm not sure. then I feel like going a bit bigger makes some sense. You definitely want to go bigger with the deuce. So I'll probably just choose a size that'll go with all my value hands. Probably like 2.5 million, and then put him in some shitty spots with these kind of hands. Whereas if you have a7 there, like yeah, pretty tempted to call in general, because it's hard to have a value hand, but then more tempted when he goes pretty small. This should go raise full fold. You don't want to be defending wide in the big blinds on final tables pretty much, I'd say most of the time, large percentage of the time. There are some situations where you do, but in general, just because your chips are worth so much, you don't want to be having hands that you're going to like call pre-flop, call the flop, call the turn, then end up folding the river because you're at the bottom of your range. There's something that I learned the hard way that you have to do on the bubble as well. You can't defend anywhere near as wide as you want to with hands like ace-5 off. If you're on like 30 big, someone opens hijack and you're on like 2 away from the money and you have ace-5 off, like it sucks to have to fold to like a 2.2x or something, but you have to. You really have to. Because you're just going to be way too often at the bottom of your range by the time you get to the river. And to check call, check fold the river and lose like half of your stack or a third of your stack on the bubble is just like disastrous. So yeah, people probably aren't folding enough. I go for double barrel here because I think that Garen, if he has like an 8 or something, is probably going to call and probably going to call too wide. And it makes the hand pretty easy to play. I don't mind checking as well. Checking is definitely more standard, but it was my exploitative reason against Garen. Sevens for him is definitely a fold because he doesn't have anywhere near as many outs. If he has like 8-7 there, he has 5 outs to improve, and if he has 7s, he only has 2. So all good in the hood. Yeah, I can't even remember who comes fourth. Oh yeah, I do.
We're gonna find out. I know who comes first.
I remember that actually. I do recall.
Who came first or who came fourth?
I remember who came first. I actually had a really awkward moment in Vegas where some guy came up to me. From my perspective, some guy came up to me and was like, "Hey man, so congrats on your big win." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." Didn't know which win he was talking about. Didn't know who he was. And then I was like, being friendly, it's like, "So yeah, what are you playing out here?" And just like got into a conversation. And he was lovely. And then as I was walking back to the car with Ben was like, "You know who that is, right?" I was like, "No." He was like, "It's Gibbler." I was like, "Gibbles! Oh no! I didn't say congrats on your big win. It was the Gibbles. No!" And then made an effort to say hi to Gibbles every time I saw him. So I felt like I should have just like looked it up or something what he looked like.
Well, now he knows because I'm sure he's gonna watch this video. I don't know just how bad you felt about not knowing.
I mean, it's not like I did anything particularly wrong. It's just like it always feels kind of icky if you meet someone, they know who you are, and you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And especially if you just like played a big tournament with them.
Yeah, I actually used to think it was cool if people knew who I was, but I didn't know who they were. But I've grown up and realized that no.
Yeah, I really do try and make an effort to remember people's names, but I suck at names so bad.
It's probably the best thing you can ever do for your communications and quality of relationships is know people's names.
Yeah, I mean, it's quality of like surface relationships though, because like I know all the names of my friends.
Yes.
Yeah, quality of just like acquaintances in like the poker realm would probably be really good. You're right.
Yeah, but it's also like the relationships, they start as surface and they have to do well on the surface before they can get deep. But you've got an interesting spot coming here. Let's get back to the poker.
So I choose to go small here on the turn because I don't think he's pretty much ever folding unless he really has a specific few hands. But I also don't want to have to like check call a bet. So I'm kind of like pricing myself in here. Also, one of the cool things about betting small there is that when you do hit either a queen or a 7 and then you bet big, you're basically not really repping anything because this was my plan at the time. So like if I bet like 2 million here, it kind of doesn't make too much sense. Nice. Because I bet small on the turn, like not looking super, super strong. Then I'm suddenly just like repping a nutted hand, and there just aren't any hands apart from literally just my hand. Then it can be. I think he ends up getting away from it, but I like my line of thought at least. I wouldn't do that against like a someone that's playing like the 100Ks regularly, because I don't think they'll look too much into that kind of stuff. But against players who I think are at that level where they're thinking a lot but not thinking that like as much, or like not getting deep as much, then I think that's a pretty good one where you can like make it look like you're super unbalanced and bluff heavy.
And given that you thought he had a pretty solid hand and you chose to price yourself in on the turn, does that mean that you were not going to follow through on pretty much any brick rivers in that situation?
There would be some that I would. Probably I can't remember what the board was. I probably end up bluffing like spades or something along those lines. Or if I were going to bluff it, it'd probably just be like a small bet. And then on spades, I might go huge. Yeah, it was probably a situation where I was going to be shutting down the river a lot. Opening wide on the button, kind of, maybe. Hopefully you're going to be opening the Jack-9 again, as it went so well the last time. Gotta play those lucky cards.
Wasn't that one of Doyle's things, that if you get dealt the same hand twice in a row, you have to play it the second time, because there is such thing as luck favoring a specific seat in the table, and there is such thing as a hot seat, and if you think you're in the hot seat, you need to be involved in as many pots as possible.
That's really funny. What would be even funnier is if in like 20 years time we get so much further in science that we look back and be like, oh, it actually is a thing. You get lucky seats because of quantum physics, and look back at all of us now and be like, haha, they were so silly and skeptical. Idiots. But no, probably it's not a thing. Not a thing. Sorry, Doyle.
Maybe I can get Doyle on the podcast and ask him all about that and see if he still has the same beliefs. Like I've seen it. It's just looking through the realm of science. You're like, well, of course that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably be some hippies who are like, no, man, like that seat's got good vibes, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, I honestly, I'm at the point, and I've seen so much weird spiritual shit going on that you literally, like, and I'm sure you're, like, similar, that you literally just can't explain with science and logic, that if I found out that, like, you can get feelings about how lucky or unlucky you're going to be, I wouldn't even be surprised at this point. Like, I wouldn't bet on it, but I'd just be like, yeah, seems legit. The world is pretty fucking mental, and all of my previous skepticisms have just been ridiculous. I like the... Sorry.
Go ahead. You talk about the spots.
I really like the check raise from the kick. I think that a lot of people don't do that, but there are so many bad turns on such a low board with loads of draws that it's good taking your less good but still pretty good value hands and taking them to the streets.
Yeah. So we're kind of like protecting our hand, just getting it in and not allowing him to realize any equity with overcards or...
Yeah. The snap fold there with 6-5 has got to be so frustrating when you have kings.
Almost as frustrating as kings in the big blind and everybody folds. Yeah, my method was I'd always compare it to the worst case scenario and be like, well, at least I didn't get like coolered or outflopped somehow and bad beat, I'm still in. But yeah, you always show your cards when you get those walks to big. You're like, good read, guys. I always have it.